Hi guys, my name's John and I'm a qualified veterinarian and biologist, and today I present a way to shape your career path to working with Southeast Asian primates. My guest is Dr. Jo Leen Yap, founder and director of the grassroots conservation organisation, the Langur Project Penang, Penang being a state in Malaysia. So what can you expect in the next half hour? It's an interview in which I ask the questions I wish I'd asked 35 years ago when starting my own career. You can just have it on in the background to listen to, but I would recommend watching it because of the unique film footage of the guests' work and skills with Dusky Langurs. And before we go any further, I would like to say thank you to my subscribers. Without you, there would be no channel. Working with wild monkeys and living the wild life looks like this. When you are in college, you're surrounded by friends who are all like-minded, passionate wildlife advocates like you. Fast forward 5 years, and they become competitors. I can't guarantee this video will land you a job with primates, but I can guarantee to try to fit in as many life hacks as possible that might just give you the competitive edge you need to get ahead of the competition. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Instead, as one success guru out of California said, just do what other successful people do. I make videos on the premise that success for you, my subscriber, means a career with wildlife. So I interview wildlife industry professionals all over the world and bring you the story of how they shaped their career. Though a career with Dusky Langurs would be too focused an ambition, a career with non-human primates, which includes the Dusky Langur, is entirely possible. You would need to think about whether you want to work with wild langurs or those in captivity. If in captivity, you'd be thinking about zookeeping, or, at a higher level, being the curator of a living collection. The highest paying occupation is probably that of veterinarian. Then there would be academia, being a lecturer in primatology or a field biologist. Or you could join a not-for-profit. Dr. Jo Leen Yap started her own Dusky Langur project, the Langur Project Penang. As with all of my interviews, what I present here is how she did it, and you can shape your career by following her example. Jo, how would you describe primate conservation in Penang today?
Hi, good morning, John. So I'm a Penangite. So I'm born and raised in Penang, even though Penang is the second smallest state in Malaysia, but it actually consists of the Penang Island as well as the Penang mainland that is alongside with the Peninsula Malaysia. So right now, I would describe Penang in terms of primate conservation as acceptance and also learning how to coexist as urbanization happens, and right now in Penang, rapid urbanization has been happening since the past 2 decades, and people are still trying to navigate their position, their well-being, their lives in the different types of urban and suburban parts of Penang. But when we talk about primates, primates also face a lot of challenges in terms of surviving and navigating in this complex landscape as well. So I think it's all about learning and acceptance, and we still have a long way to go.
That's great. And Jo, how would you define a langur? What is a langur?
So Langur, I will always define them as long-tailed monkeys, of course, but more specifically would be columbine, leaf-eating monkeys as well. So the species that I study is known as Trichypithecus obscurus, or you call them the dusky langur, dusky leaf monkey, the spectacle monkeys. As you can see behind me as well, is a adult dusky langur on my right, and also a baby dusky langur on my left. Yeah, so I've been working with this species since 2016. Yeah, it has been 10 years, a decade.
This being the situation with primate conservation in Malaysia today, what is the situation with jobs in Malaysia working with primates, Joe? Are there many jobs available, different jobs?
Right, thanks for that question, John. It's also a very complex question. So, when I was a postgrad student, started my master's in 2016, and throughout those few years, at the beginning of my studies, I realized that it's quite challenging to find and secure a job that relate to primates because Malaysia, as one of the Southeast Asia country, there's actually not many opportunity in conservation. And like for me, like as an Asian kid, right, growing up and our parents will want us to be the dragons and phoenix. It's like trying to get into medicine, accounting, engineers, all the typical stuff that you can see on the big screen of Hollywood talking about crazy rich Asian. Yeah, except I'm not rich. So I think in Malaysia right now, if you talk about present days in Malaysia, opportunity in conservation is slightly increased, but still challenging in terms of navigating around just working in big corporates as a part of the sustainability departments and trying to pitch the ESG initiative or even SDG initiative to big companies or even working in NGOs. Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, career in primatologist in Malaysia is extremely difficult to obtain and find. And I think as one of the existing younger generation in Malaysia for myself, I have the responsibility to pave the future career possibility and more options for the younger generation to come.
So, Joe, the theme of today is work and careers with primates in a Malaysian context. So that said, what do you do?
For me, I'm literally a bridge. So I install bridges in real life. Yeah, of course, that you read about our canopy bridges as well. And second, I work as the bridge, like a mediator, a wildlife researcher, and also an environmental educator, yeah, with the communities and stakeholders in Malaysia. So right now, my work revolves a lot on communication and also negotiation, as well as pitching and talking about the future projects that we can work together, not only among conservationists, but also between conservationists and the government agencies, as well as with corporates, individuals, the educators, etc. So my role has been evolving, starting from just a student running towards the field, stalking monkeys. And those days was wonderful because you don't really have to think of anything else, right? Yeah, but as your organization grow, as my organization, Langur Project Penang, or you call it LPP, grows throughout the years. Right now, my role is more towards yeah, trying to handle people and trying to change people perceptions and behavior towards the environmental issues around them.
Joe, do you do it for personal satisfaction, professional recognition, or the money?
All right, still passion, still passion. If I'm not doing it with passion, I can still look for other job. Yeah, and I'm confident with that. Based on the skills I have throughout the years as a eco entrepreneur, I would labeling myself as eco entrepreneur instead of just primatologist, conservationist at the moment, which later I'm going to talk to you more regarding our organization. So it's still driven by passion. Of course, as your organization grows, you have team members, right? You have team members and you have people that rely on you. So I think I always have the passion until today, and the passion grows stronger with a more ambitious vision and also projects in mind. But it's also having the element of sustaining the organization for the organization reputation and recognition, as well as getting enough fundings and and money to sustain the organization as well.
And Joe, somebody watching this who wants to work with primates, with langurs indeed, in a Malaysian context, somebody who wants to be you, please can you describe how your career developed?
Mm. There's some several ways to do that. First of all, to anyone who is listening, languages are extremely understudied. So if you willing to like go on an adventure of a couple of years, or maybe up to 5 to 6 years of studying languages, I'm sure there's many academic institution supervisors. They are really happy to have students to venture on this journey. However, there's other things to think about, funding, manpower, etc. But we'll go into that later on. Yeah, I think starting from research is a good start, but not many people got that opportunity due to obligation at home, due to other commitments as well. So I will always advise Malaysian of all background, regardless your students, working individuals, or even senior citizen, or even youth and children as young as 16, 17 years old. You can always start by volunteering. Even though there's not many primate conservation organization, regardless they're NGOs or social enterprise that is available in Malaysia. But LPP Langur Project Penang is an option as well. And we have been recruiting citizen scientists. We prefer to call them citizen scientists rather than just volunteers since the beginning of my postgrad research. And we have been recruited since 2016, 150 volunteers, citizen scientists. And currently, my organization has around 15 to 18 long-term citizen scientists that is helping us navigating the fieldwork progress and schedules around Penang State. Yeah, so yeah, two options go into academic research for your dreams or become a primatologist, or you really wanted to contribute to the conservation scene in Malaysia, just get out and volunteer. And volunteer doesn't mean that you have to go for field work. You can be a videographer, you can be a photographer, or even like you, John, like starting a podcast. Or there are many things, innovative ways that we can help primates, which is both humans and monkeys.
Joe, what skills do you need either to be a conservationist or to be a researcher?
All right. Can you repeat that again? What do I
Yeah,
need? Is it?
sure.
Yeah.
What skills do you need either to be a primatologist, a researcher in primatology, or to be a primate conservationist?
For me, the greatest skill, it depends on what kind of skills, right? Whether is it traits or is it vocational skills. But if you talk about skill, of course, it's about observation. Observation is really important. For years of training individuals of different strengths and weaknesses and expertise as citizen scientists, observation skill is something that we can learn through our years as a human being. Like people have bias towards observation, right? Like for us, our field sites are mainly in the urban areas of Penang at the moment because most of the grants are funding the urban monkey studies of the Langur Project Penang. And we realized that different individuals in our citizen scientist team, they have different bias towards their observation. Some of them prefer to look at the interaction between the humans and monkeys around the area, and some people are really interested in the food plants or even the food that are being provisioned by humans towards the monkey and the urban landscape. Yeah, a lot of people are just really interested in talking with the communities and co-sharing spaces with monkeys as well. So observation skill is something that we can embrace as an individual, and in order to find our strength within it, so that we can um kind of translate our observation into not only scientific data but also storytelling, science communication. So I would go for observation skill because observation skill comes in many forms. Not just about using a binoculars or even a camera to capture images of monkeys or use for research, but it's all about the understanding the environment.
Joe, how can people acquire the skills they need?
People would able to acquire the skills they need by yeah, for me, it's about having an open heart and trying to get involved in the initiative that you're interested at. Yeah, when you realize that you're interested in certain conservation activities happening around your hometown or even in your country, it's really important to start with asking the right question. Yeah. So when you start getting curious about the particular conservation job or even volunteering opportunity, it opens up many, many doors for you to get to know people like-minded individuals, not only conservationist researcher themselves, but also people who think the same way as you as well. Yeah. So it's all about trying. Yeah, I would just say trying.
Joe, what issues in primate conservation in Malaysia would you like to see resolved over the next 5 years?
I think it's all rooted down to people understanding and tolerance towards coexisting with the monkey neighbors around them. This is really important because we have received multiple complaints or even those issues that arises from the ground in residential area or even different urban landscape that people are having challenging time in terms of accepting monkeys' occurrence around their neighborhood area. Yeah, so of course, when we think about bigger changes that could come in the next 5 years, we can talk about, I wanted to integrate the concept of canopy bridges into the environmental policy of Malaysia. But this is something like so big, right? Which require years to achieve. But for the next 5 years, to me, the achievables is all about environmental education and community engagement, which we're able to work with the all different types of communities to help them to understand why monkeys are appearing in your area. That's the first question. And second, what are the ways that we can guide you to coexist with the monkeys in your area while minimizing the negative interaction, or we call it conflict, right? And third, what can you do? Yeah, as a steward or even as a person that live at that localized area to help children's or even the existing generation to learn more about their biodiversity and take charge of your natural ecosystem. Yeah, it's all about collective action, right? So yeah, I really like these two words, collective action. For the next 5 years, I would like to see a stronger collective action among the communities in Penang so that all of us can be a conservationist of your own. Yeah.
That's brilliant. And Joe, in addressing these issues in the coming 5 years or so, what jobs might be generated?
So I can think of would be educators or even tour guides or more youth or even students would get involved in research. Yeah, which also increase the recruitments of students in local university, right? All this could happen. So Penang is right now the frontier of ecotourism, yeah, in Peninsula Malaysia. So if you look at the news on Google's, there are many people that living around different Peninsula Malaysia, they always see Penang as the food heaven. Lots of delicious food, especially street food, their multicultural historical background, yeah, of Penang. Yeah, but also Penang is so convenient because it just takes you less than 10 minutes to travel to the closest hills for hiking activities, or even less than 10 minutes to the closest beach. Yeah, for some, yeah, marine activities or even waterfront activities. Yeah, so Penang is really convenient in terms of getting things that you want and also exposing yourself to nature. Yeah, so there are lots of well-known ecotourism spot in Penang as well. And if we're able to introduce wildlife conservation, specifically primate conservation, into tourist activity, sustainable tourist activity, as well as introduce into local school module, starting by a private school, international school, may be easier to work with them compared to pitching to a national module or syllabus, which may take decades or even years to come. And we're able to open up the opportunity for young graduates who are from ecology or even biodiversity degree to let them know that there's actually more doors for you to explore instead of signing up yourself to work as a sustainable department staff in a company, which not many companies in Penang actually looking at ESG yet. Yeah, unlike Kuala Lumpur, yeah, which is emerging. So in Penang, it's still starting. And there are many things that we can do as a bridge in between people and nature. So what I can think of would be opportunity for research and Penang Hills, and also there are many parts of landscape of Penang is also part of the UNESCO biosphere region as well. Yeah, as long there are students who are willing to explore further in terms of their research career, there's lots of opportunity with the guidance and help of from the experts or even university, or as a communicator, educator, as a role of a tourist guide. When I'm talking about tourist guide, it's very specific into nature guides. Yeah, in Penang, there's still a very lacking of nature guides. For me, I'm a certified nature guide by the federal government. Yeah, so I have the privilege of organizing rainforest program for my organization, and I can do it legally, right? Yeah, so that we try to encourage more Malaysians to sign up for the certificates. Yeah, so that they can do more in boosting the ecotourism in Penang, at the same time also able to work in primate conservation as well. Yeah.
That's great. And Joe, as the science of primatology and the practice of primate conservation develops and progresses in Malaysia, um, are there any practices or protocols that you see being used by colleagues, by peers? Are there any practices that you'd like to see phased out over time because been realised that they're actually not very productive or helpful?
And then you ask this question, John, and this question can be quite controversial as well because there's multiple approaches towards conservation, right? Yeah, from my point of view, as a student, I was slightly like very energetic, yeah, also quite aggressive as well. So activism is something that I used to really look up to. Yeah, so I would join in activism activities and being really vocal about the certain environmental issues in Penang. Yeah, if you look it up, some of the news on the Google, you may trace back some of my faces back in 2016 and 2017. Yeah, but then as I move on this journey, I realized that conservation is really complex. I will always say that it's 20% working with species that you wanted to conserve and 80% working with people. Yeah, and right now, I'm really happy to say that I gained that experience slowly, and I'm doing a different approach. For me, I'm also wearing the cap of a friend. I wanted to understand the point of view of various stakeholders. So instead of getting into the point that being too aggressive or even too vocal immediately at the beginning of certain environmental issue, I would trying to approach different stakeholder respectively and understand their point of view. I think this is really important. It's also a skill that cannot be learned in classroom, right? Yeah, and it's very hard for us to pass on. I wouldn't say hard, it's like challenging to pass on this message to the younger generation of youth, of future conservationists, because it's all about experimenting. And the dynamic of people with you and among them is also really different as well, according to their stress level, according to the things they are keeping on their plate. Yeah, so many different elements to think. Yeah. So I would say that one of the things that we need to really learn as a primate conservationist right now is to work more with people by understanding people, being an active listener, and also try to find a win-win situation, even though there's no 100% win-win. But to me, it's all about the just trying your best. Yeah, instead of being too straight up to a certain point that ruin the partnership or even collaboration. Yeah.
And Joe, looking now more closely at the science of primatology, where do our knowledge gaps lie in primatology in Malaysia?
Right. Let me think. So I feel that there's still a really huge gap between the people that are sitting in university compared to the people that are working on the ground. Yeah. Like for me, I used to be a PhD student, right? Yeah. And the experience is really different compared to what I am right now. I'm not really into like writings or even chasing publication anymore. For me, my job revolving a lot
即係
on
燒
people
牌。
and also communication at the moment. So there's still a
喂，
really huge gap, yeah, in terms of catching up with what's happening in the academic world of primatology, but for the researchers in the university, the affiliated university, they're also having a hard time catching up with the primatologists that are working on the grassroots level as well. There's still a really huge gap. Like for example, in America, there's a North America Environmental Education Association, NAAE. So they're kind of like the middle person to link all the different environmental educators, not only in America but also throughout the world. Yeah, this is why they are having awards and also opportunity for young educators in Asia able to network with educators from all around the world. But in Malaysia, we're still lacking of that. Right, like right now, we have the Malaysian Primatological Society, MPS. Yeah, but it's all about volunteering your time, right, in managing the workflow and all the tasks in the NGO MPS itself. Yeah, so there's still lots of gaps, and but I believe that in a couple of years things would be better, especially when there's more funding opportunity and more individuals who are interested in trying to get involved. Yeah, in navigating the scene of primatology in Malaysia to try to make it an inclusive one. Yeah, because there are many people there who are actually interested in monkeys. Yeah, but they don't have a chance to get exposed to the opportunity. And I feel that as a grassroots organization myself, we have the opportunity to do that through different activities that we provide on our platform as well. Yeah.
Joe, if we can focus right down into the natural history of langurs in Penang now, can you suggest a research project for a student?
Wow, many. Like for me, my PhD was focusing on the behavior ecology of Dusky Langurs in various anthropogenic environments, mainly targeting secondary forests. But those secondary forest areas are not surrounded by residential areas, and I was looking at their activities, their behavior, as well as the habitat qualities. And right now, our project is really focusing on interaction between langurs, macaques, and humans in urban landscape, like literally urban landscape of residential area. Yeah, so it's very different compared to my PhD thesis as and my PhD work. Yeah, so there's still many questions in my mind. Like for example, the feeding ecology of langurs in Penang is still not really well truly studied. And one of the things also the impact of climate change towards the ecology of Dusky Langurs as well. And even though I have done several years of sampling fieldwork of the Dusky Langurs in several secondary forests in Penang, but still the data is not really built up into a way that we're able to compare, yeah, the changes of Dusky Langurs movement and their behavior ecology throughout the years. And so for me, the opportunity is like diverse. You can look into genetics, you can look into behavior, you can even look into the impact of climate and the environment towards the overall health of the Dusky Langurs as well. And it's basically everything. Yeah, everything that we don't know about their lives in different environment. Yeah, I would say that. Because one research group or even organization like us, we just couldn't do it all. Yeah, we still need to answer a lot of questions. And there are still many questions that I couldn't answer, even though I've been studying them for 10 years. I am glad that as goes by, I learn more about them and able to fill up many gaps. Yeah, among them and the environment and so the relationship with humans as well. But it takes the whole village, right, in order to raise a child or even to solve an current issue. And for me, primatology scene or even career opportunity in Malaysia is just getting started. And if we talk about research, yeah, we still need more students, individuals who are willing to take their time in following monkeys.
Brilliant. And Joe, what one piece of advice can you offer someone writing a funding proposal?
Wow. Funding proposal. All right. I have tried various methods, and for us, our funders are mainly from international funders as well as corporate funders. And of course, when you talk about the grant proposal, and they would like to look at the impact. When you're writing a continuous grant proposal, it's all about the statistics, right? Like for example, the number of crossings that you recorded through camera trap on the Canopy Bridge. That's the stats or even the number of outreach activities that you have done, and how many adults and how many children that you have reached. Those are the statistics, right? Yeah, statistics are really important. I think it's also about um the one thing that I realized is there are many grants that only focusing on current project that we're working on, and it's very important for the grantees or even applicants to write in their future vision, like how would they move on, yeah, after the project is done. Is there a future prospect of that particular project? Yeah, I think that's really important because I got asked several times where when I was writing the grant proposal, I wasn't really think about it because always think in the academic mindset, right? It's all about statistic impacts, the objectives, etc., the outcome. But what about ourselves? Yeah, we are the one that writing for the grants. How do we want to move on along this conservation journey? And why would the funder wanted to fund us as the individuals? Because they believe in the one person that leads the organization, right? I think it's all about the able to show that you'll be continuously showing up in terms of conserving the species, at the same time advocating for the environment and the communities of people and monkeys at your study sites or at your country. Yeah.
And a final question, Joe. What emerging technologies do you think will be invaluable to langur conservation in Penang in the future?
All right. The first thing that put onto my mind would be how to improve our existing camera tripping data collection on the canopy ridges. So I always wondering if we can have like a AI camera traps that able to help us to identify the individuals and also the species that crossing on our canopy bridges so that we do not have to rely too much on manual work. Yeah, even though now there's a lot of open source data that we're able to train the system in terms of identifying the native species of certain country. But yeah, I really hope that one day technology would help us more on this and make it more inclusive, like easier to operate, and other other people can do it as well instead of just researchers, even citizen scientists. Yeah, camera trapping is definitely a really difficult part to navigate, especially it's all about what the camera captured, right? Yeah, sometimes the images can be really blurred, and sometimes the full footage doesn't show the exact species right in front of you, just the back, just the side. Yeah, I think there are many things that we can do with technology, and for me, I would like to start with the camera trapping. Yes.
Brilliant. And sadly, we're starting to run out of time, Joe. But in about 2 minutes, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Yep. Mm, not for now. I think it's all about understanding how Malaysian work as a whole, because Malaysia is multicultural country, right? And when we talk about primate conservation, we are not just talking about protecting a species, but also talk about how um, culture and practices affect people conduct primate conservation on the ground, right? Yeah, and many people in Malaysia are still really unfamiliar with the word conservation. Yeah, and so we still have a really long way to go. But to our friends who live abroad, like outside of Malaysia, would like to experience how is it like to be a conservationist in Malaysia, I guess, just contact us and see what are the opportunities that we can work together. Yeah.
Brilliant. Joe, you are the founder and the head of the Langur Project Penang in Malaysia. Thank you so much for being on the Practical Animal Channel, Dr. Jo Leen Yap.